First of all, does it even matter which software? Probably you heard many times before like software doesn't matter, proportions are more important, ideas are more important than the software, and this kind of stuff. Oh wait, actually that's true, I also believe in that, it's really important, but it doesn't mean that software doesn't matter. Of course, a good idea without software, which is done in paper, with just pen and paper, is better than a bad idea which is rendered perfectly, like modeled perfectly, or a good proportions like done in very quick sketch is better than bad proportions but photorealistic renders. That's for sure. We all know that. At least I hope we all know that, so I will not talk about it more. Let's talk about the exciting part. Which software, really, which software is the best for car design? Oh wait, but this question also sounds stupid, because car design is not only one thing. You cannot just say best software for what. For example, we have research and inspiration part, and then we have ideation and the creativity part, and after that we have the refinement of these ideas, and then maybe we have 3D modeling for ideation process still, and then we have 3D modeling for production for engineers. Then we have also the visualization and the animation. So what is the best software for which part of car design? Let's go step by step, and then at the end we will pick one final winner. For research and inspiration, the first thing comes to my mind is Google. At the end, they have the biggest database, I guess, right? And we Google everything. Then for me, I use like Pinterest, YouTube, Behance, Instagram for most of the research and inspiration for myself. It's a little bit personal, I think. Even if there's no project or even if there's no specific subject I'm looking for, I just scroll these websites and I save some inspirations for future. If I see some interesting product, interesting idea, interesting image, I just save it and go on. For every category, we will pick one winner software first. Wait a second, actually, these are not even softwares, like these are mostly websites that I mentioned, right? So I'm not even sure if you should pick one of these, but if I have to, I would say probably Google because it's the biggest one. But this category is maybe not that important. I mean, I wouldn't say Google is the best car design software at the end. So maybe let's just jump into the next category. Oh yeah, the ideation and creativity part. It's the most fun one, right? And I have to say the first thing comes to my mind when I talk about this first phase of design, ideation and creativity, is pen and paper. I know this is not a software, but I just had to mention them. Now we can talk about softwares. I will cover digital sketching for this category because I think we all put our ideas on first 2D to experiment with them and just develop some ideas a little bit. And even if you model so fast in 3D, it doesn't matter, still sketching will beat you. So the first softwares come to my mind are Sketchbook, Photoshop, and Procreate. These are probably the most common three softwares. Let's try to compare them, but it will be of course at the end my personal point of view because I can judge them as much as I have experience with them. I used Sketchbook Pro for years until I learned Photoshop properly. Because Sketchbook is nice, you can put your ideas quickly, it's very simple user interface and everything, but in Photoshop you have a lot more control, at least that's what I felt, and I just stopped using Sketchbook years ago. Because in Photoshop you can just make quick 2D sketching, you can just doodle an idea with a lot of different brushes, and then you can use all these transformation tools to manipulate your sketch to exaggerate proportions or fix your perspective or whatever. And then you have things like pen tool to make precise renderings in 2D, and also it has a lot of features that you can do post-production for your 3D renders later on. So when I learned all this stuff, I decided to just focus on Photoshop, and I didn't feel a need to use Sketchbook again. So in my opinion, Photoshop just beats Sketchbook in that case. And I used a little bit of Procreate. I don't have a huge experience with it. I generally use it for relaxed sketching, let's say, because when I'm sitting on a couch or if I'm just scribbling something, I can use Procreate for this type of ideation. However, I never tried to make like a fully done render or something because to me it lacks the shortcuts that I have on Photoshop. In Photoshop, I have my keyboard and I have all the shortcuts in my head, so it's super efficient and fast tool for me to use it. I know a lot of people doing amazing job with Procreate, but I just don't have this experience myself. And also to me, Procreate is very limited just on iPad, but Photoshop you can use it on your computer, and to me it's just more efficient. So for me still Photoshop is better than these, but also there is something like Gravity Sketch. I also don't have a lot of experience with it, unfortunately. I tried once or twice, but it seems interesting and exciting. You put the VR headset and then you just sketch in the air. It looks kind of cool. So it's kind of like a 3D sketching kind of mixture. This idea makes me excited. However, I just need to do more research about it, and I still don't think it's as efficient as like a quick doodle in 2D only, like with pen and paper, because maybe just because of I got used to it. Tell me your experience please on the comments if you're a user of these softwares, and let me know about your thoughts. And there's one more thing which excites me a lot. I saw just a couple of videos about it. I couldn't use it yet, but next week I will use it. It's Viscom. I guess you heard about about it. Like I saw videos, designers just sketch something, you do a very basic doodle, and it renders at the same time with AI support. So it looks kind of crazy. I want to try it, and then I will share my experience with you soon, but it's definitely worth to mention. For this category, ideation and creation, we can also mention some 3D software, because some people can say, I create my first ideas in 3D. That might happen because you can also just create a very basic volume and then you put it back into your 2D digital sketching software, so you can mix them, but we will talk more about it on the next categories. So for me personally, the winner of this category is Photoshop. What about yours? Let me know in the comments. Refinement of ideas is not even actually category, but I just wanted to mention that it will be very quick, because some designers like to still do everything in 2D, like they put first the ideation and then they refine their ideas in digital sketching softwares to make them more detailed and refined. But on the other hand, some designers like me, I like to put the first creative ideas into 3D to create the basic volume, and then again put it on the 2D software like Photoshop and just create the same proposal from different angles. To me, seeing the same idea from different angles is way more efficient to do it this way, like creating 3D and then putting it, rather than trying to match all these different sketches from different angles exactly same. I mean, you can also do that, however, it will not be perfect most of the time, and it will not be that fast. So personally for me, in this category, it will be Photoshop plus the 3D software that I will mention in the next category. Alright, this category will be a little bit competitive, and I'm sure there will be some discussions afterwards. But if you are watching me for a while, you know that my answer, my favorite software for this category will be Blender, of course. But wait, let me explain a little bit. 3D modeling for ideation requires a lot of speed and flexibility. And the best option for this is polygonal modeling like Blender, Maya, or the subdivision modeling from Alias. They all have different advantages, and let's try to compare them a little bit. The best advantage of Blender for me is you can see everything in real time. You can see all the shaders, you can see all the materials, you can see the environment and how it would look like when it's finished while modeling, while still creating your ideas. Other softwares also have some good materials and everything, but Blender is so good at visualization. So you don't need to first model and then export it and then open it in a rendering engine, and then while rendering you realize some mistake or a reflection is not exactly what you want, then you go back to modeling software and you kind of combine them all the time. But in Blender, what I love personally is when I'm creating the volumes, when I'm creating my design, I already see the material that I want, and it's also very useful with my client projects. Like already in ideation stage, I start to model my idea, and in the meetings and presentations, most of the time we edit together depending on the requirements, and we all see at the same time how the end result would be. It's like sculpturing in digital environment and seeing the results immediately. I just love it. Also, Blender is not specifically for car design. Actually, car design is probably a very small part of the community, so this way you can find a lot of different models and a lot of different ways to show your design. Like you can download a lot of 3D environment, you can put your car in there, or you can at least easily create this environment with all these textures and stuff. It definitely adds additional value to your presentation, and you do it while you are still on the ideation process. Also, Blender has amazing community that you can find a lot of different tutorials or different 3D models. And if you don't know about Blender, if you don't know how to use, I have my own online course for Blender for car design specifically. You don't need to know anything, it will be from zero level to show your ideas in 3D in a very effective way. Also, the course is specified for car design, so you don't need to learn different aspects of the software and spend unnecessary time. You can find all the details on the link in the description if you're interested in learning Blender for car design. There's also one advantage for Alias sub-D modeling, which is it's more friendly for engineering softwares or directly for NURBS modeling. So you can also model your ideas in a quick way in Alias sub-D, then you can convert them into NURBS modeling. Blender is not there yet, you cannot directly use your model into NURBS modeling, as far as I know, but you can still import your Blender model into other softwares to use it as a reference. Because at the end, this ideation modeling generally for reference, then when you need to model it for better quality surfaces, you will anyway start from zero. But still, we can give this advantage to sub-D modeling. And if you compare other softwares like Maya or 3ds Max, or still with Alias sub-D, you need to pay a good amount of money every month, but Blender is totally free. It's another huge advantage because designers are passionate people. We don't only work at work. When you go back home or you will have personal projects, or if you are a freelancer, having a free software with all these features is really like amazing opportunity. So if you compare this most popular polygonal sub-D kind of modeling softwares for ideation purpose, I think the obvious winner is Blender. But I can imagine some people might disagree with this, so let me know about your opinions in the comment section. Alright, this is the next step of modeling. Now we model for communicating with engineers or directly for production. The proposal is selected from the previous phases, and now it's time to fight for millimeters and the best surface quality. Here, the obvious winner, the king of this category, is Alias, especially for the surface control and surface quality. There are also other softwares like Rhino, ISM, Fusion, SolidWorks that some designers use, mostly for product design, but they are not as good as or as focused as on automotive industry. I used Alias mostly on my studies, because when I started to work as a professional car designer, I didn't need to use that much of Alias. Because as designers, we focus on more creativity and ideation part, and there's a whole Alias modeling team which supports you with modeling. Sometimes it's very strong division between designers and the modelers because nobody has enough time to do both. Like, even if you know Alias, I can say I'm not bad in Alias, but I didn't have time to create my own ideas there. But it's a smaller studio, or for example, you are a product designer, you might need to know some other softwares directly for production or for communicating with engineering team in a better way. So for this category, 3D modeling for production or for engineering, Alias is the winner. And there's a whole Alias modeler term exists. Like, there's a whole profession for this category. So it's definitely not surprising. Here we can talk about KeyShot, VRED, Unreal Engine, Cinema 4D and Blender. At least these are the ones I'm aware of. I used to use KeyShot and VRED mostly before, when I was using Alias for my main modeling software, because you cannot get this fancy renders from Alias directly. So I was exporting the model, putting it in the KeyShot or VRED and taking good results. And I was quite happy with both of them. Only problem was if I want to change something, because while rendering or while I set up the scene, set up the environment for the rendering, maybe I see something and I want to change it, but for that I need to go back to 3D modeling software, do the changes and come back to rendering software again. So it was kind of annoying, but at the end it works. But when I started to use Blender, I never need to use KeyShot or VRED again. Because first of all, you don't need to switch softwares anymore. You just model and render or see what would it be after rendered while modeling still. So it was definitely a better solution. If I need an animation or a quick render, I use the EV render engine inside of Blender. If I need more realistic and more accurate tracing of the light, I use Cycle's render engine inside of Blender. There's also Unreal and Cinema 4D and also Houdini, I think. I saw a lot of great, amazing renders and animations done with these softwares. I just don't have much experience with them, so I cannot comment much. However, again, Blender is totally free and you can use modeling and rendering at the same time. So personally, the winner of this category will be Blender again. We can maybe give one advantage to Unreal Engine because most of the people I know using VR using also Unreal Engine for showcasing the renders. And for Blender, I don't know if it's VR friendly or not. Oh, also we can mention about Photoshop because after taking final renders, sometimes I do post-production in Photoshop to my renders. So we can mention about it as a good support in this category. And the winner is, the drum roll. No, it's still kind of stupid to say the best car design software because we just talked about all this different process of car design. So it's really not fair to say the best software ever. But anyway, we are also having fun here. So if you compare the overall scores of each software, let's say, the winner would be Blender. And I don't think you are surprised about this. And I know I might sound a little bit maybe not objective enough because I can only talk about my own experience here. And I started using Blender a while ago and I just fell in love with it. I just don't even use other 3D modeling softwares for years and also rendering softwares. So for me it was obvious, but I still wanted to compare these softwares and I just wanted to give an answer to this question from my point of view. And the best software for car design is Blender and Photoshop and pen and paper. But please let me know down in the comments, what do you think? What is your experience? And what is the best software for car design for you? And if you want to watch some other professional car designers' opinions on Blender and how do they use it in professional life and in their personal projects, you can watch the videos somewhere here or in the link in the description. If you like this video, show it on the like button. And if you are new here, consider to subscribe to talk more about car design. See you in the next video.